5 seconds before the wedding. He heard, "I slept with 2 men." His altar response stunned everyone. The organ's triumphant notes filled every corner of St. Michael's Church as 300 guests rose to their feet. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, painting the white runner in jeweled colors. At the altar, 32-year-old Marcus Chen stood in his navy suit, his heart hammering against his ribs with the kind of joy that makes you believe in forever. He'd waited his entire life for this moment, for her. Then his phone vibrated in his pocket. He almost ignored it. Almost. But something made him glance at the screen. 3 words shattered his world. "I slept with 2 men." The message was from her number. From Claire, his bride. The woman walking toward him right now, radiant in white lace, her father's arm linked through hers, completely unaware that Marcus's entire reality had just collapsed. Marcus's vision blurred. The faces of friends and family morphed into an indistinct watercolor. His college roommate Jake, his best man, leaned forward and whispered, "You okay, man? You look pale." Marcus couldn't speak. His thumb moved on autopilot, opening the message thread. There were more texts, sent just minutes ago while he'd been adjusting his tie in the vestry. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. I can't marry you with this secret. Last year, when we were going through that rough patch, I made a terrible mistake. 2 different times, 2 different men. I've been carrying this guilt every single day." His eyes darted up. Claire was halfway down the aisle now, her smile luminous, tears already glistening on her cheeks. The happiness on her face was so pure it physically hurt to see. Behind her, Claire's mother dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. Claire's little niece scattered, rose petals with the seriousness of a surgeon, performing an operation. Marcus's mind raced backward through their 3-year relationship. The rough patch she'd mentioned, yes, he remembered. It was after his father's death, when grief had made him distant and unavailable. He'd buried himself in work, barely spoke. Came home exhausted and emotionally hollow. For 2 months he'd been physically present, but emotionally absent. He remembered the nights Claire had tried to reach him, and he'd turned away. The dinners she'd cooked that he'd eaten in silence. The way her hand would reach for his, and he'd unconsciously pull away, lost in his own darkness. He'd failed her, and now she was confessing to failing him. The phone trembled in his hand as another message appeared. "If you want to stop the wedding, I understand. I'll take all the blame. Tell them I'm sick. Tell them anything. You deserve better than someone who betrayed you. But I love you, Marcus. I love you so much it's killing me to tell you this. But I can't start our marriage with a lie." Claire was 10 feet away now. Her eyes found his, and her smile wavered. She could see something was wrong. Her steps faltered slightly. The guests sensed the shift, that indefinable change in atmosphere when something isn't quite right. The organ music swelled to its crescendo as Claire reached the altar. Her father kissed her cheek and gently placed her hand in Marcus's waiting palm. Her skin was ice cold. Her eyes searched his face with growing fear. Pastor Williams, who'd known both families for decades, opened his Bible and smiled warmly at the congregation. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." But his voice seemed to come from underwater. Marcus's entire consciousness had narrowed to 2 points. Claire's terrified eyes and the phone burning in his other hand. She knew he'd seen the messages. A single tear rolled down her cheek, cutting through her carefully applied makeup. Her lips moved almost imperceptibly. "I'm sorry." The pastor continued with the ceremony's opening, but Marcus could see Claire beginning to crumble. Her shoulders shook. Her bouquet of white peonies trembled violently in her hands. She was seconds away from breaking down completely in front of everyone. Jake shifted behind Marcus, confused. Claire's maid of honor, Jessica, looked alarmed. The entire church seemed to hold its breath. This was the moment. The moment Marcus had imagined 1,000 different ways since they'd gotten engaged. The moment he'd stand before God and everyone they loved and promise forever. Except forever had just gotten complicated. The logical part of his brain screamed at him to stop everything, to walk away, to protect himself from the humiliation and pain. She'd cheated on him, twice. The betrayal was real and it cut deep. But something else stirred in his chest as he looked at Claire's anguished face, something that felt like the truest part of himself. Pastor Williams reached the vows. "Marcus, do you take Claire?" Marcus's thumb moved across his phone screen, typing rapidly under the cover of his jacket. He hit send. Claire's phone, tucked into Jessica's clutch purse as planned, must have vibrated. Jessica, noticing Claire's distress, instinctively checked it. Marcus saw Jessica read the screen, her eyes widening. She quickly showed it to Claire. The message read, "We're human. We fail each other. We hurt each other. Then we choose revenge or grace. I choose grace. I choose you. Delete those messages and marry me." Claire's sob was audible throughout the church. But this time it wasn't from guilt, it was from disbelief. Her eyes locked onto Marcus's, searching for any sign that he didn't mean it, that it was some cruel joke. He squeezed her hand tighter and nodded almost imperceptibly. "Are you sure?" she mouthed. He mouthed back, "Always." Claire's father, still standing nearby, looked concerned. "Everything all right?" Marcus turned to him and smiled, a real smile this time. "Perfect, sir. Just having a moment of gratitude." The ceremony continued. When it came time for Marcus's vows, he set aside the carefully written speech he'd memorized. Instead, he spoke from a place deeper than words could usually reach. "Claire, I stand here today knowing that we're both imperfect people. I know I've failed you, and I know we'll fail each other again in the future, because that's what humans do. We're messy and complicated, and sometimes we make terrible choices." The guests looked confused. Claire's mother's eyebrows furrowed. But Claire understood. Tears streamed freely down her face now. "But here's what I also know," Marcus continued, his voice stronger. "Real love isn't about being perfect. It's about seeing each other's worst moments and choosing to stay anyway. It's about forgiveness, not because the hurt wasn't real, but because the love is more real. It's about building something together that's stronger than our individual failures." He reached up and gently wiped a tear from Claire's cheek. "I promise to love you on the days when you're easy to love, and on the days when you're not. I promise to choose us again and again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because you're worth fighting for. We're worth fighting for." By the time he finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the church. Claire's vows were shorter. She could barely speak through her tears. "Marcus, I promise to spend every day of the rest of my life being worthy of the grace you've shown me today. I promise to love you with everything I am. Thank you for choosing me, even when I didn't deserve to be chosen." When Pastor Williams pronounced them husband and wife, the kiss they shared was filled with the kind of emotion that comes from genuine redemption. It wasn't the fairy tale kiss Marcus had imagined months ago. It was better. It was real. At the reception, as they had their first dance, Claire whispered in Marcus's ear, "How did you do that? How did you forgive me so fast?" Marcus pulled back to look at her. "It wasn't fast. In those 30 seconds at the altar, I lived through about 100 different lifetimes. I imagined walking away. I imagined the satisfaction of humiliating you the way I felt humiliated. I imagined years of bitterness and what-ifs." He paused, pulling her closer. "But then I remembered something my father told me before he died. He said, 'Son, you'll face moments in life where you can choose to be right or to be loving. Choose love. You'll never regret choosing love.'" "Your father was a wise man," Claire said, fresh tears falling. "He was," Marcus agreed, "and he was also human. He told me that 2 weeks before he died, he'd had Mom tell you the same thing after their own marriage nearly ended decades ago. Turns out my parents weren't the perfect couple I thought they were. They just chose each other every day through everything." Claire pulled back, shocked. "I never knew that. None of us know the full story of anyone else's relationship," Marcus said. "We all just do our best with the broken pieces we've got." Months later, Marcus and Claire would begin couples therapy. The road to rebuilding trust wasn't instantaneous or easy. There were hard conversations, moments of doubt, and days when the hurt felt fresh again. But they walked that road together, with honesty and commitment. Claire learned to forgive herself, which proved harder than earning Marcus's forgiveness. Marcus learned that his grief and withdrawal had consequences, that love requires presence, not just provision. They both learned that a strong marriage isn't built on the absence of failure, but on how you respond when failure inevitably comes. A year after their wedding, they were asked to share their story at a marriage retreat. Marcus concluded his part by saying, People ask me if I ever regret not walking away that day. The answer is simple, not once. Because that moment at the altar taught me what love actually is. It's not a feeling that protects you from pain. It's a choice you make in the middle of pain. It's deciding that the person in front of you is worth more than your pride, your hurt, or your right to be the victim. Claire added, and it taught me that confession, as terrifying as it is the only path to true intimacy. Secrets are walls. Honesty, even when it's ugly, is the bridge that connects us. Their story spread quietly, through their community, then wider, not because they wanted attention, but because people desperately needed to hear that real love survives real failure. In a world obsessed with perfection, with curated social media lives and zero-tolerance policies for human weakness, Marcus and Claire's marriage became a testament to something more powerful: grace. The truth is, we all stand at altars of our own making, facing the flawed humanity of people we love. The question is never whether they'll disappoint us. They will. The question is whether we have the courage to choose love anyway, to build something beautiful out of broken pieces, to believe that grace is stronger than guilt. Marcus chose grace that day, and in doing so, he didn't just save his wedding. He saved two people who were drowning in shame and fear, and gave them a chance to build something genuine, something earned through honesty and forgiveness. That's the kind of love that changes the world, one imperfect couple at a time.